In the heart of Hendersonville, Tennessee, a young woman vanished without a trace, leaving behind a small town in shock and a community still haunted. Lauren Agee has left an eerie mystery in its wake. The townspeople are left to ponder the sinister truth about her fate, and the echoes of her laughter seem to linger in the air, taunting those searching for the truth. What happened to Lauren Agee? Will we find the answers, or will this mystery remain forever unsolved? Get ready to unravel the suspense and uncover the truth. Lauren Agee was a young woman from Hendersonville, Tennessee, known for her infectious energy and effervescent personality. At 21, she was pursuing a degree in criminal science and had recently entered into a good relationship. Her love for sports and her humorous demeanor made her well liked among her peers, and she was often referred to as the life of the party. Her vibrant personality was showcased on the big screen as she appeared in several professional music videos. Her natural charisma and zest for life were evident in her performances, and she quickly became a fan favorite. Lauren's unwavering optimism and infectious energy had a profound impact on those around her. Her friends and family described her as a selfless and compassionate individual who would always put others first. She had a heart of gold and was always there to lend a helping hand, even in the most trying of times. A few weeks before her 22nd birthday, Lauren told her mother, Sherry, about an invitation to attend Wakefest, a 3-day festival based at Center Hill Lake in Nashville, Tennessee. The festival was known for its wakeboarding tournaments, water sports during the day, and its parties and dances at night, making it an exciting opportunity for the sporty and sociable Lauren. However, Sherry had reservations about the trip, particularly about her daughter's companion, Hannah Palmer, with whom she felt uneasy. Sherry had doubts about Hannah's trustworthiness due to her inconsistent presence in Lauren's life. Despite these concerns, Lauren and Hannah set off for the festival on July 24th. They documented their trip on social media, arriving at Wakefest late afternoon. There they met Aaron Lilly, Hannah's boyfriend, and his friend Christopher Stout. Although both girls were familiar with Aaron, it was their first time meeting Christopher. Chris was attracted to Lauren, but she was in a committed and happy relationship and did not reciprocate his feelings. Throughout the evening, the group continued to drink, dance, and party in the bars. As the night of the festival approached, the sleeping arrangements turned out to be far from what was expected. Lauren, along with Hannah, Aaron, Chris, and another man named Brixton Gambro, set up camp on the cliff, which had a 90-foot drop on one side and a nearly 50-foot drop on the other. Despite not being a designated sleeping location, the cliff had become a popular spot for festival attendees to camp, with a rope tied to the trees to help people reach the top. Chris and Lauren were given a hammock suspended between 2 trees over the edge of the cliff, which Lauren found concerning as she had indicated that she had no romantic interest towards Chris. The next day, the group continued to enjoy the festival, watching water sports and partying. During the day, they allegedly decided to do some cliff jumping, but during one of the jumps, Lauren hit the back of her head and was unconscious for a few seconds. Despite this, she appeared to recover and return to her usual self. Later in the evening, a friend of Lauren's, named Cassie Franks, who was also at the festival, ran into Lauren's group at a bar in the marina. Cassie was the ex-girlfriend of Aaron. When the evening rolled around, Lauren expressed her concerns to Cassie about sleeping on the cliff again. Cassie understood her fears, as she had spent a night on the cliff a few years prior. However, Cassie could not offer Lauren a place to stay as her group had no more room. During the silent hours, while the rest of the group slept, Lauren sent several text messages to a close friend. She longed to return home, mentioning that the trip was no longer enjoyable. On the morning of July 26, Hannah approached the hammock where Lauren was sleeping, but to her concern, Lauren was nowhere to be found. She quickly woke up Chris, only to receive a puzzled response as Chris had woken up in the middle of the night but had no idea when or how Lauren had disappeared. Hannah frantically searched the campsite for any signs of Lauren and noticed that Lauren's personal belongings, her flip-flops, purse, and phone, were still resting where she had left them. This was highly unusual, as Lauren would not venture far without these items. Despite the growing concern, the group made no attempts to report Lauren's disappearance or seek any assistance. They assumed that she had taken an early morning walk and would return soon. But as the day dragged on and there was no signs of Lauren, the reality of the situation began to sink in. Lauren's mother, Sherry, was consumed with fear as she had not heard from her daughter since Saturday. With each passing moment, her anxiety grew as she tried desperately to get in touch with her. Then came the crushing news on Sunday that shattered her world. Her daughter was gone forever. It was at 4:30 p.m. when two fishermen stumbled upon a shocking discovery. The body of Lorna G. was discovered floating in the water face down, and it became clear that death had occurred. The fishermen were overcome with fear and immediately notified the authorities. The once peaceful and idyllic campsite was now the scene of a tragedy. The police arrived at the scene and initiated a recovery process. Meanwhile, Erin Lilly appeared in a canoe paddling around the corner and approached the police. Harry and Diana, a couple on the scene, noticed the timing of Erin's arrival seemed odd. One of the police officers believed that Erin had staged the encounter and that the group likely already knew where Lauren's body was. As the investigation continued, the stories of Erin, Chris, and Hannah began to take on a more sinister tone. Erin's testimony shifted, claiming that he had suspected Lauren had gone to the cliff to meet an ex-lover. Meanwhile, Hannah's account became more disturbing as she revealed that Lauren had left the campsite earlier in the morning, joining a mysterious group of strangers on a boat. Chris's story also changed, now stating that Lauren had come back to the campsite briefly before telling him she was going to meet an ex-boyfriend, and then he fell asleep only to wake up to find her gone. The investigators felt a growing sense of unease and suspicion with each new twist in the stories. An autopsy was conducted to determine the cause of Lorna G's death, and the results showed that she suffered from blunt force trauma and possible drowning. Her body was found to have a broken nose, fingers, bruises, and other signs of physical trauma. Despite being submerged in water, her lungs had very little water. She had twice the legal limit of alcohol in her blood. Distinctive markings and impressions were found on her body, including a triangle shape on her chest. Detective Chris Yarchuk, who had seen Lauren's body leave on the night of her death, assisted in the recovery of her body and observed what appeared to be a bite mark on her chest and substantial bruisings on her thigh. He recommended a rape test kit be used, but no such test was performed, and her body was not swabbed for DNA. 911 calls were lost, text messages were erased, recordings of some interviews were not made, and the crime scene was contaminated. As a result, it was concluded that Lauren had fallen down the side of a cliff while intoxicated, and her death was ruled as an accident. The county sheriff's department determined that no foul play was involved and that the incident was a tragic drunken accident. The case was then closed, leaving everyone on edge and wondering what really happened that fateful night. Sherry had concerns about the investigation into her daughter Lauren's death and believed Lauren's friends were involved. Officer Ryan Melanson agreed with her suspicions. Sherry commissioned a private investigator, Sheila Wysocki, in February of 2016 to examine the case. Although Hannah Palmer, Christopher Stout, Erin Lilly, and Brixton Gambrell were never considered suspects by the DeKalb County Sheriff's Department, they still all had a shady past. Hannah and Erin married and moved to Florida, starting a family. Chris had a history of parole violations and DUIs, while Brixton moved out of state and hired a lawyer. None of them attended Lauren's funeral, and none have commented on the case since it was closed. Cassie revealed that Erin had a history of violence towards her, including choking, biting, and beating. Cassie even had pictures of the abuse, but the DeKalb County Sheriff's Department declined to look into them, stating the case was closed and Erin wasn't a suspect. The re-examination of Lauren's autopsy revealed hemorrhaging in her throat, and tests showed the current of the water at her death didn't match her body's position, leading Sherry to believe the authorities mishandled the investigation. The rape test kit was not carried out as Lauren was wearing a tampon, but it was later discovered she wasn't menstruating. The family, as well as the private investigator, ran experiments and tests to determine if a cliff jump was possible, but the results showed that it was unlikely. A witness claimed to have seen Erin Lilly sputtering and spitting out water, but this statement remains a gray area as the time frame doesn't match up with other eyewitness accounts. The family filed a $10 million wrongful death lawsuit against Hannah Palmer, Erin Lilly, Christopher Stout, and Brixton Gambrell, but it was dismissed due to insufficient evidence. Despite all the efforts, the mystery surrounding Lorna G's death remains unsolved. The Lorna G case has been a tragedy for all involved, especially for her family, who continue to fight for answers and justice. Despite the efforts of those seeking the truth, the case remains in limbo. The outcome remains unknown, and the whole story of what happened that fateful night may never be revealed. However, Sherry Smith remains determined in her pursuit of answers for her daughter and will not rest until she receives the justice that Lauren deserves. Thank you for watching True Crime Prime. Kindly subscribe to our channel and remember to like, share, and comment.